The Africa Blockchain Association of Uganda, together with Crypto Savannah, in partnership with the Innovation Village, went out seeking for innovators with a passion of developing sustainable digital solutions, leveraging on technologies like blockchain, big data, artificial intelligence, robotics, drones to solve pressing challenges across the communities and priority sectors like agriculture, health, and education. We got numerous applications, and from those applications, we're able to zero down to 6 applicants who made it here to the final stage. So the people that will be presenting today have actually made it to the final stage, and from these we'll be able to pick out the very best that will be announced tomorrow. Just to let us know, we have 5 judges. We have Richard Zulu, Augustine Idot, Sleman Murunga, Angela Semogere, and Theo. I will not pronounce the other name. For the people that will be pitching, we'll pitch in this particular order. We have EduPoint, represented by Oscar. This will be followed by Innovex Uganda. This will be followed by Marifasasa, then Pesabes, and lastly Jaguza Tech. So we'll go straight into the presentations. EduPoint. Is Oscar here? Okay, we'll skip Oscar for now. Innovex.
May I have the slides up, please? Thank you. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Douglas Baguma. I'm the team lead at Innovex. And I'm here to tell you how we're transforming the distribution of off-grid energy in Africa. As we talk about development, there's one key thing that we never forget about, and that is the aspect of energy. And as we strive to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, it's a surprise that in Africa, we have more than 90% of the countries that have not even achieved close to 50% electrification. The key question we consistently ask ourselves is that, is Africa ready for the future? And of course, adoption of technology is paramount for sustainable development. And what are some of the hurdles in adoption of technology? Of course, these technologies require huge investments. There's a huge lack of knowledge. It takes a long time frame to implement most of these technologies, and there's a lot of overheads in management. It is reported that in Africa, of the 1 billion people living off-grid, 99% of these live in the south of the Sahara. And as you can see, this is reported to come to 600 million people without access to electricity. And the other challenge is the governments are not investing enough. And this has led to very many missed opportunities in the fields of agriculture, education, health, and of course, it's hard to do business without electricity. This gap has created a huge opportunity for very many solar businesses. And in the past 5 years, there's been a huge growth by solar, growing by more than 500%, attracting to close to $600 million investment. And today, we have close to 3 million people connected in Africa because of solar energy. So the question then becomes, how do we power more people? How do we power more homes, businesses, much faster? This would be important to promote business for betterment of health, promote standards of living, and of course, to spark socioeconomic development. This is how we come in. We have more than 1,000 smart meters connected in 4 different countries, inclusive of Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and DRC. And these smart meters, what they tell us is most of the solar systems that are connected to these institutions are not used to the maximum. So what we have done with an additional layer of blockchain and of course big data, we are using, or we are transforming most of these institutions into energy hubs to power businesses that are doing maize milling in agriculture, solar water pumping for home use and also for farming, and also powering small businesses. Of course, our uniqueness is we have more than 25 solar businesses that are connected to our platform, and most of this technology is developed locally by our engineers. We make money from the extra sales of electricity that are being sold through our smart meters and the blockchain technology, and we also make money from the sales of the smart meters to solar distributors. Our costs are just about $30,000, giving us a profit margin of 120%. The market is a $12 billion US dollar market for the 600 million people without electricity. And our target customers are people accessing electricity on credit, which comes to about $50 million US dollars. And we're selling our technology through solar distributors. We have more than 2,000 solar distributors in East Africa alone, and about 5,000 in Sub-Saharan Africa. So far we've raised close to 150,000 US dollars. We have more than 60 health centers connected on our platform, 150 rural schools who are reselling their excess energy to communities around them, and several partners through whom have implemented our technology. So we're looking at raising 100,000 US dollars to carry out a pilot study for our blockchain technology. And in over 2 years, we're looking at raising $1 million US dollars to deploy this technology. So by 2021, we'll be making 20% net profit in 4 different countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. And this is the team that will implement this to you, led by me. Very well trained in business with a background in civil engineering. Thank you very much. This is Team Innovex, and we believe we can electrify everyone today. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll have some questions. We have 3 minutes for questions. Any questions in the house? From the judges? May we please have a microphone? To the judges. Someone there?
Thank you. Thank you, Innovates, for your presentation. It was very good. What I just wanted to clarify is what is the value addition that blockchain is bringing to your overall solution? Because I believe you first built it using traditional centralized servers, centralized database. But what does blockchain bring to the overall solution that adds its overall value to all the parties that are involved?
Could I have the slides up, at least one of the screens? The slides. Okay, I hope to explain that with the slides. But what our platform is mostly is a platform of smart meters, IoT, and we're collecting a lot of big data and a lot of analytics. So what we want to do with the blockchain, of course, thank you. So the key advantages of blockchain, number one is distributed ledgers. And number two is the smart contracts. We have schools that are generating a lot of energy during the day, and they only use it at night. So you find there's an excess of solar production. And economically, most of these systems are not being financially viable because the installation is over-designed. So what we're doing with blockchain is using smart contracts, we're enabling these schools become energy hubs such that they can distribute this energy to local businesses. Someone that could be running a salon or even a solar water pump that could be supplying a community or even farmers. So that is how we're using blockchain to sell energy to local communities from schools and institutions that have excess production.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, Douglas. I wanted to ask about the data that you're collecting. Who is using this data and how? Then the other is the aspect of, you said your model is built on cells on electricity. And I'm just trying to understand how that works. What value are you providing to whoever is giving the commission on cells on electricity?
Okay, thank you. So for the first question, so the discussion on data is a bit, sometimes it's a sensitive issue. So you find some of the agreements we sign, they do not allow us to include third parties, share this data with third parties. So what we do, for example, we have a project running with Energy for Impact in Kenya, where they're installing 300 solar systems in schools and hospitals. And they, Energy for Impact, are using this data for research purposes. They are an energy research agency. So they're trying to understand how people use solar, how they interact with solar systems, and how their energy needs grow, especially in schools and hospitals. So they could be one of the people that use the data, but also as a business internally, we use this data to build value, where we offer additional services such as we're using AI to diagnose performance of machines, off-grid machines such as irrigation pumps, where we send SMSs to installers and also the users. If a machine is about to fail, we'll let them know before it fails so they can do preventive maintenance. The second question, what?
The second question is the commission on electricity. Who's giving that commission and why? That 10%.
So what is actually happening is we're running a pilot on this. So the idea is we're providing that technology to the owners of the solar systems to make them more financially viable. What has been happening in the industry most of the time is this has been a push sale. You find solar distributors are selling over-designed solar systems to funders simply because they make bigger margins on these. And when a good example I could give you is a project to run with Vodafone in Kenya, DRC, and Tanzania, and actually noticed that being sold something too expensive, yet they didn't need it. So now the idea is, can they make some of these projects financially viable by reselling this energy to the surrounding communities to do business and maybe to also provide water to homes? So, of course, we do take some commission for providing that technology. And also, of course, the owner of the solar system also takes the biggest part of the commission, since it is their data and it is their energy and it's their solar system. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I want to understand, what's your biggest challenge today in terms of adapting blockchain to your current solution?
Of course, challenge number one is finding the right skill to develop this technology. That's the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. A round of applause to the Innovex team. So next we'll have the Marifa Sasa.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Bob Okello, and I am the founder and CEO of Marifa Sasa Limited. Marifa Sasa is an edtech startup here in Uganda with a vision to be the leader of an experienced age education revolution in Africa. May I please have the slides? Great. So Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. 10 years ago, my world changed completely. From the verge of dropping out of school to getting an opportunity to an education, quality education that changed my life. Ever since then, I have made it my sole purpose in life to create life-changing learning opportunities for others. And that is why we founded Marifa Sasa. And today, I am here to present to you our virtual reality solution for a massive and experiential education. But first, the problem. You see, in our classrooms today, our students are very passive and disengaged, and that is because we are using outdated transmissionist teaching methods that are in touch with the times in which we live. Furthermore, we see that students today struggle finding relevance in a lot of things they study in the classrooms. What they're learning in class is very disconnected from what is there in the real world. And also, the teaching of 21st century skills like empathy, critical thinking, systems thinking are very difficult in traditional classroom settings, especially if your classroom looks like that, which is where I did my primary one some many years ago. So what do we see as a larger problem here? Quality education is still a big problem. According to a World Bank report, we see that about 125 million children across the world will not achieve minimum proficiency. They won't be able to do simple math like 2 + 2 is equal to 4, or read a simple sentence that this is a boy. 80% of our children in Uganda cannot read a simple sentence, even after spending 3 good years in primary school. This is unacceptable. And this, we believe, has to do with the way we are teaching our children. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our solution, which is virtual reality-based solution to ensure that, just a second. What's happening? So I present to you our virtual reality solution for immersive and experiential learning. We are on a mission to ensure that our teachers are equipped with the tools to teach our children in a way that is supposed to be done in the 21st century. What we are providing is national curriculum-aligned content in virtual reality for teachers to really engage our students in a way that helps them to retain much of the knowledge that they learn in classrooms. Moreover, we are making access to affordable virtual reality headsets a reality. With our partnership with some of the leading producers of class or education-related virtual reality, we are making that possible. And today we have a partnership with Avantis Education, which is the world's leading producer of Class VR, which is an education-oriented virtual reality solution. We want this to be accessible in every classroom, not only in Uganda, but eventually across this region. So why Virtual Sasa? This is how we make it happen. One, we help schools to understand how to use this technology by configuring it with their already existing classroom technologies. And for schools that don't have it, it's very simple. It's just plug and play. And we help them to do that adjustment very easy. A beautiful thing with our virtual reality solution is that the learning curve is very minimal. And two, we then enroll the headsets into our platform that is having the content to ensure that the headsets are matched with relevant content. And then, of course, I do carry out, make the content available on the headsets. And then after that, the teachers can be able to take the students on immersive experiences to learn about places that would be virtually impossible to have experiences in their current classroom settings. So let's look briefly about the market potential. How big is the market that we're talking about here? Globally, we see that the edtech industry is expected to rise to about $7.8 trillion globally by 2025. And if you just look at the edtech market, which is our serviceable available market, we see that as we speak, as of last year, it was about $152 billion. So we're seeing a huge market that has great opportunity for growth globally. And locally, our target is really to capture only 10% of the edtech market in East Africa and Africa in general. So this is our business model. On the content side, we license our locally created curriculum-aligned content to schools so they can use it at their own free will. And then on the other end, we lease these headsets to schools that cannot afford to buy them up front, hence allowing us to sort of recycle this and, with less headsets, we can reach a lot of other schools. But there are schools that are able to buy these headsets, so what we do is simply focus on content. Our long-term plan is to focus exclusively on content development to ensure that our teachers have the right content to use in their classrooms. And this is what some of our, our customers are saying. This is a parent that says he just wants to go back to school so he can have this kind of experience, And a student here says that if he were the Minister of Education, he would make this thing a must in every education system in this country. And what are our teachers saying? My job as a teacher just got a facelift. With this VR tool, I think I will postpone my retirement. We are making education exciting again, not just for students, but also for the teachers. And parents love it because at the end of the day, we are seeing improved learning outcomes. So at the moment, we are on a drive to look for about $50,000, and this is to scale our piloting. Right now, we're already in about 10 schools across Uganda where we are piloting. In fact, next week, we will, for the very first time, be piloting our solution at a refugee camp in northern Uganda in the Jumani district. We believe that this is a shot for us to deliver quality education to even the most remote places in our country and ensure that the most marginalized populations of learners are receiving the quality education that gives them a best shot in life. Financial projections, we expect to break even, in our 5th year. And so by receiving these investments will allow us to acquire more headsets, develop more content, do more teacher training, and be able to reach out to more schools hence generating revenues that will see us with these financial projections in 5 years from now. And our team, we have a team of dreamers who believe in doing. From our teachers who we're working with to ensure that we know what teachers actually want, to our tech geeks who have a lot of experience in the software industry and with virtual reality especially, to our amazing and competent salesmen that are ensuring that teachers and schools have a buy-in into this solution. We believe that we have what it takes to make this a reality, and just hope that the judges will agree to actually join us as well. And we have already gotten some supporters in the past. We have been able to get some funding from the Tony Elumelo Foundation through the GIZ program, the Make It IT. Just last month, we were in Oslo pitching at the Catapult Future Fest. So we believe that now is the time to really ensure that Africa's education gets a facelift, because that is the only way we can embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you. I'm open to questions from the judges.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just 2 questions.
Yes.
One is around the aspect of content. Can you tell us the kind of content that you have and the localization you've done with that content to make it suitable for our context? Then the other is the deployments. You mentioned 10 schools. Could you further elaborate what those schools are, what ages, the domains that you're targeting with this?
Yeah, fantastic. So as far as the content is concerned, I actually have a headset here. Maybe at the end I can give you all an experience. But right now, the content we have been developing has mostly been focused as a pilot on the subject of geography. So most of the schools that we are working with are schools that are struggling to take their students for some of these geography field trips. Let me give an example. A school in Moyo, for them to take their students to a place like Kasese to learn about mining of copper, the drive from Moyo to Kampala is 10 hours, and then from Kampala to Kasese is about 6-7 hours. 17 hours of struggling. What we are doing is, and a lot of the schools don't have the resources to take this kind of trips, so we are flipping the model. Instead of schools having to take students there, we bring those places to the schools at the comfort of their classrooms using virtual reality. And right now, our target area is mostly secondary schools. So the schools we're working with are mostly focused on ordinary levels. So all level, that is senior 1 to senior 4. And then we also have some content in STEM. So for example, in biology, you can take a tour of the human digestive system, or take a tour of the human cell, for example. This is the kind of content that we have developed. So what we do is work with our teachers. They review the curriculum and see what aspects of the syllabus do they need content, and work with those teachers to develop the content that they can directly use in their classrooms.
Okay, thank you. My attention is drawn to one of the first slides you made, that classroom setting, the one you mentioned, I think you attended in your P1.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how your proposal or your system really takes care of the unique setting in that village below the tree kind of classroom setting.
Yeah.
These are technological-related gadgets, and I'm wondering whether you have factored in the capacity, the uptake or adaptability or utilization capacities for those rural schools to really, one, afford this kind of, yes, I'm seeing at $6.76 for a leasing for a term. I'm again looking at the economic sustainability for people in the rural schools. And then secondly, how those people in the villages with no individual access to power can actually maintain or continuously use such gadgets.
Yeah.
What exactly, what can you tell us about, such issues that your solution might actually be creating?
Yeah. First, these are very fantastic questions. These are questions that keep us awake at night as a company. When it comes to issues of accessibility of the technology, so first of all, our primary target is actually those kind of schools, because these are the groups that have been left behind. I know what it feels like because I once studied under that mango tree. So we were designing this with that in mind. So the headsets that we use are completely rechargeable and they have large storage capacity. So all the content is loaded and it's offline. So you can charge it off, and it runs for a couple of lessons in a day, about 4 lessons in a day, and that's basically the entire day. So they're rechargeable, offline content that can be used in any environment. In fact, we have already tested that. Unfortunately, I didn't have those photos here, but just 3 weeks ago, we were at a classroom under a mango tree, and you could have seen the faces on those children. So what we're trying to really ensure here is that we can deliver quality education under any circumstance. That is a top priority for us. So it doesn't matter if you're under the mango tree or in a classroom with equipped smart boards and all that stuff. This technology works there. When it comes to issues of affordability, that pricing was actually, we came about that pricing as a result after studying what is the average affordability of someone going to a UPE school or a USC school deep in the villages. So we looked at the school fee structures in a lot of the government schools in these places, and based on that, how much they pay per term and in academic year, how much do the parents have to pay to ensure the students go to such schools, and then we based on that to determine how much we would be charging the schools per student to make sure that this technology is accessible. So at the end of the day, it's a collective effort. We're not just putting the weight on one student. We work with the schools to ensure that we are very flexible with our pricing. But that pricing was actually designed specifically with those kind of schools in mind. Thank you.
Thank you for great energy, by the way. Really enjoy your energy today. I want to understand and build on your question. What is needed in terms of maintenance, in terms of the headset? If it breaks, what kind of service is required from your company? And how are you able to also train people that use this headset to make sure they can take care of it?
Yeah. So one thing we do is work directly with our teachers. We believe that the teachers are the experts in this setting. And I think the big failure in EdTech has always been that we just throw technology at teachers and hope everything will be well. That's not the case. Our model is to, first of all, train these teachers on how to develop the content, operate the devices, and do maintenance. So the good thing is, perhaps the great news, is that the headsets that we are using are specifically designed for those kind of environments. If it drops down, it's just going to bounce off like a Nokia phone. It's going to be okay. Most of the maintenance we do is mostly content updates. So on a regular basis, we simply go, especially where there's no internet connectivity, we go with the new headsets, leave that, and then take the old ones, update it, and then we kind of recycle it that way. So the major update and maintenance happens is mostly the content update and maintenance. But as far as the hardware is concerned, it's mostly on the charging, and the rest of it is really it has a warranty of about 3 years. So until 3 years, the wear and tear is very minimal, and that is, I think, what makes it a very fantastic solution for this kind of settings. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited with that, what we are doing. It looks the right thing. But from the beginning, you talked about the curriculum. I agree with you that most of the curriculum we're having may not be capturing the content. But how are you going to make the education system identify what to teach, when to teach, how to teach it? Because this is a computer, garbage in, garbage out. So while it's good, but are you in any way, have you got in touch with the designers of the curriculum so that you are in tandem with what they are doing? We gauge our students upon passing the exams. But exams of what? What do they examine? I don't know whether you have got, if you have been in touch with the Have you been in touch with the Educational Curriculum Center to know what we are doing, whether it's in line?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much for that question. And as a matter of fact, yes, so we have been having conversations already with the National Curriculum Development Center. So as I said, we work with the teachers to develop this content. And of course, on the side of the development, so we're already directly in touch with actually the Content Development Department at the National Curriculum Development Center, which are also working on coming up with digital content for education. So we are working with them, and we have already had consultations with them. As far as curriculum and the education system revamp, we know that takes process, but this is the least we can do right now, and we are involving them in the process. Thank you so much for asking that question, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Bob, Chief Hustler. I don't know if you saw that as his title. Next, we'll have Pacer Bess.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dialba Juk. I'm the founder of Pesabase. I'm hoping this thing actually works. Okay. All right. So let me start. I don't know how many of you guys are actually aware that Somali is the king of mobile money. The reality is everyone is talking about Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, but per capita, Somali is actually the king. They do $32 billion a year, while Kenya does $37 billion a year. And these are only about 14 people. So that gives you an idea of why I think there's a solution similar to what they have done in South Sudan itself. So the problem that I actually wanted to solve was, I realized within my own community in South Sudan, a lot of them live in other countries, and a lot of them have migrated. I thought that it's very possible to build a digital solution that actually connects all of them. There's about 1 million of them in Uganda at the moment as we speak. And so when they send money, it's expensive. When they move around cash, it's hard. I mean, I don't know how many of you have been to South Sudan, but you literally carry a bag of money just to pay your fuel at the moment. So the solution, I thought, given the rate at which we're growing, the rate at which mobile penetration is happening in Africa in general, that there's an opportunity now to connect these people that live in Australia, America, Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan, into a platform that actually focuses on them. And a country similar to Somalia, with similar problems, similar setting, should be able to actually use this and benefit from it. So the opportunity, currently South Sudan is about a $20 billion GDP economy. There's about 12 million, and as I mentioned, there's also about 1 million South Sudanese in Uganda, more than 90,000 in Kenya, and a lot of them overseas, myself included. I lived in Australia for years. So I thought that there's something here, and I can start with this and build it, become profitable, and then look at how can I attack the rest of Africa. Traction. When I thought about this, I asked myself, given my actual experience, is this a reality? So what we did, we just took 3 MTN SIM cards, and we said, if there's a market for this in South Sudan itself, will they send money from Juba to anywhere in Uganda? And we found that to be actually true. Over a period of about 3 to 6 months, we ended up doing 200,000 a month in terms of remittance float being sent. And we were able to make a profit of about 2,000 to 4,000 in revenue, obviously. So that made me realize that if that is real, then we can go ahead and now build this product. And that's why over the last 3 months, we hired some developers in Kenya under the Casual House brand, and we had them build, and we're planning to launch sometime this month. So the business model, the question is, you can build something, but how do you make it sustainable? How is it profitable? We decided that for international remittance, we can charge 5%. For local remittance between all users, we can actually just charge 1%. There is no good financial and banking capability at the moment. Even internet itself, to a certain extent, is challenging. So we use Visa. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Visa in this room. And that Visa, you can actually distribute it. If you build a light app, it should be able to work. The competition. Obviously, in the neighboring country, you have M-Pesa, WorldRemit sending money from overseas into M-Pesa and MTN. But the thing is, none of them actually focuses in the South Sudanese community. An economy of about 20 billion that, on average, has done about 500 million a year in remittance. And a known amount in terms of in-town sending within the South Sudanese itself. So my go-to-market strategy is simple. Let's build a network of shops that are capable and understand what an app is and can actually access a computer and be able to handle people that come in to deposit and send money on their behalf. The team that is doing this, that's myself. I have over 10 years experience in the tech industry. My last job was at IBM. I've been in blockchain space for more than 4 or 5 years now, since 2013. Jeremy is an experienced developer. He's done a lot. William understands the East African market and has been in it for a long time. So we think that this team is capable of making this thing a reality, of connecting the South Sudanese to the rest of East Africa. And so we are not going out to raise money right now, but we're saying, let's release this, let's talk to people and see what their feedback is. Thank you very much. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
I want to understand directly how you're going to dominate your own market, right? Because there's a lot of competition in what you're doing.
Yep.
So I want to understand, I see the strategic plan you have, but I want to understand how you're directly going to execute on it from small, and also how, in terms of what kind of education you're giving, because right now you're basing your model on people that are established and know technology, know how to use a phone,
Yep.
and how big of a market segment actually has that competence.
Well, normally what happens in general is people that send money to either Uganda, Kenya, they actually understand. I mean, the biggest amount of remittance between South Sudan and Uganda at one point was $150 million that year. So what they will do, they'll seek out solutions that provide that. A lot of them actually have relatives here, kids at school and wives here, and they're working in South Sudan. Those guys actually understand what they need to do. To me, that's the initial market that allows me to get my product out. And then now the people that travel between the cities are the ones that will go, hang on, I need to pay someone in Juba, I need to pay someone in Bor, how do I send money? And once they realize that we're in that business, they will learn. Also, our app is not that complicated. We try to make it really, really simple, and if we need to, we can actually train them inside our agent shops itself.
Majok, I'd just like to say it was a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
Value proposition is very clear.
Yeah.
And I've been to South Sudan, and I can confirm your statement in the terms that when you convert any foreign currency to local currency, you get quite a large amount. I exchanged $400, and the amount of money I got, I felt like shooting a music video. But my question is, considering the cost of internet in Africa is quite expensive, and in South Sudan, I know it's even higher because that bag of money I got, half of it went to internet. So considering that factor, how does that affect your addressable market? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, what is the actual addressable market? What is the active 30-day user base?
Okay, so to start with your question, recently the South Sudan government actually signed something with Liquid Telecom, so they plan to take fiber to South Sudan itself. Now, how fast it will grow into the outlying cities is still a question mark, obviously, and it takes time. So what that means is, yes, there's still that challenge, but the reality is that data that you use, and I've actually talked to my brother in Juba several times using WhatsApp itself, we only need a small amount of response time to be able to send an entry saying this person is sending $50 or this person is receiving $50. It shouldn't really consume that much. And the people that will use it can generally actually afford to buy that amount of data. I know it's not great, and my expectation is that it will improve with time. What was the next question? Sorry?
My next question was, what is the 30-day user base? So how many active smartphones are actually there in South Sudan?
So generally, there is no good stats on that. I'm actually using Somali as my way of understanding my own market. But from my personal experience, anyone that has a job in the government, anyone that has a small business generally can afford a very small, cheap smartphone. You'll find nowadays smartphones are going from $30 to $50. If a guy has to do, top up his shop, buy goods and services, generally that guy can actually afford to be able to buy a very cheap smartphone. And we expect that, of course, to improve as the years go by. Any other question? No? Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Mojok. We'll have one last presentation from Jaguza Tech.
Thank you. Briefly, before I show my presentation, I would like to thank everyone who's here. And I'll be brief about my background, why I came up with the Jaguza livestock application. In 1 minute, I'm an orphan who lost my parents when I'm 12 years, and I couldn't go back to school. And the only thing I could do is I started rearing rabbits, and I pay for my school fees. And there's that one day when all my rabbits died in one night, and I couldn't go back to school, so I had to start afresh. So after starting afresh and go back to school, I thought of coming up something during my university that will help someone who was suffering like me. And that was the birth of Jaguza. What is Jaguza? Our focus is to use blockchain to empower livestock farmers to improve livestock production and then strengthen food security. This is my team. I have a team of 7 people. We have a hardware developer. This is part of my team. And my focus is integrating blockchain into Internet of Things, drone technology, artificial intelligence into Jaguza Tech. Basically, about Jaguza, we use machine learning to make sure we detect diseases, and we also use TensorFlow to make sure we improve into livestock production. So these patents, they help us to improve in terms of movement, in terms of eating, how the cow is eating, how the cow is. So by doing that, we make sure we improve the way how livestock is working. We have also worked with drone technology. We use machine learning and artificial intelligence to make sure we collect data from the drone to the cow, and then it also comes straight to the computer. Our solution is to support advanced mobile data capture technology, such as mobile impact platform, which now support RFID tags. We implement all that with supply chain to create a secure transaction for blockchain. The mobile impact platform use multiple devices, such as smartphone, tablets, laptops, and desktop. Our mission is to provide a retailer with a way of deliberately record a list of transactions indicating how meat or livestock has flowed through a commercial network from the farmer to the distributor to a butcher and finally to the consumer. Our social and environmental impact is to improve livestock supply chain through blockchain that can be tremendous impact the way how we distribute the ledger through public health and local effectively. Partly we have a diagram here that describes how our project is working. I have this device which we designed. This is a device we designed here ourselves with our engineer, and we patented it. It's the device that collects data from the cow. We put it into cow's ear, and it picks data from the cow to the computer, and to the computer to the mobile phone. This data is stored from the cloud, which help people to make sure they know what their cow is doing wherever they are in real time. Part of the diagram, we have also weather forecast. We have analytics and reports. We have, this is a local technology before we came up with the blockchain. This is one of our block technology platform where we use RFID to make sure we can identify from the livestock records, health records, feeding records, breeding records, growth records, production records, and financial records. So through this, we make sure we use RFID tag. This is the RFID. It was also developed by us, and recently we went to China to make sure we mold it. So we have this RFID, which you can put on the cow's ear, and it can be able to control all of those parameters you're seeing and give you a feedback in real time such that you can be able, wherever you are, you can be able to know what's taking place. And this kind of traceability is coming from the time you buy your cow up to the time you sell that cow. And it will give you also the total amount of feeds and money you have used to make sure you have spent on that. How our livestock blockchain works. We intend to use each block linked with the previous block via a hash function. We use our encrypted algorithm, which is called bcrypt algorithm, which we use to make sure we distribute. It's also decentralized. Decentralized means a situation where enemies come. If you want to know what is taking place from someone's cow, for example, I give you an example. If I have a cow and I sell it to someone, and that person sell it to another person, I'll be able to keep track of the history of that cow from where it was, and such kind of information will help me. For example, the regulator if, for example, that cow they want to take it maybe for slaughter, and you want to know the history. By doing that, you can know, it helps people to know where the cow comes from, and this helps the problem of malnutrition, which is a big problem to Africa. This is part of our IoT system. We use real-time temperature monitoring, traceability, disease diagnosis, tracking, record keeping, SMS and USSD, and mobile app. Our mobile app are available on App Play Store and iTunes for iOS, and they are available for tracking and doing a lot of parameters. This is some of our structure. We use solar GPS. I have a GPS here. So this GPS, you don't need an internet. You just put it on the cow, and you can be able to track your cow, wherever it is, anytime, anywhere, on your mobile phone. So it just charges itself using solar. Our current attraction are livestock farmers, veterinary doctors, health information officers, agricultural extension officers, researchers, and stakeholders. The architecture of our system, it's you put a tag on the animal, and this takes 700 meters. And where there is 700 meters, we have a repeater. That repeater boosts the signal to another 700 meters. So you can have like 5 acre using this, and it can work with 700 meters. This is our drone. We use also drone to make sure we detect the healthy condition of the cow from the cloud, wherever it is, and it sends also information from the mobile phone. No, I think the power has gone off. I don't use it. Yes. Yep. This is our milestone. We've already so far rolled out 1,486 Jaguza units in 33 months in 968 farms. We have 1,281 customers and veterinary doctors. We have online veterinary doctors. These are doctors that answer questions every time, whenever there's any problem. And these are doctors which are found on our mobile application. They are online, and you can be able to see them. You can chat with them. You can request any information you want through these doctors. I think time. Okay. Yeah. Can I finish? Okay. I wanted to show you some of our projects which we've been working on. And so far, we have worked with the company through blockchain. I'm working with IBM. Through my travel to US 3 months back, I met Mr. Jeremy Jaffel, who's the IBM blockchain advocate, and he gave me a blockchain server, which I've been working on. So I wanted to you have a look on how it's from. But since now it's time, I think I'll wait for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katamba, for your presentation. I have a question. So you said you have rolled out to 968 farms.
Yes, please.
Could you elaborate on what your customer looks like? Like, who's your customer? What would that look like? Then the other is, I see there's lots of sensors and, the cow is pimped. What's the cost in terms of getting this running with your customer, even in terms of maintenance?
Okay. As I said, our customer, livestock farmers, veterinary doctors, health information officers. These are officers who are in different districts, and researchers. Researchers have been getting our data. Actually, they pay us money to make sure they use our data. When you go to our website, it has a lot of information under research. When you go to our mobile application has a lot of information. You can specialize. If you're a farm of cow, you can go to our mobile application and you can read only about cows, information about cows, how to rear cow, which diseases affecting cow. If you want to go to goat, poultry, pigs, and also rabbits. So these are some of the things we do. Then the second question you said, the cost of this sensor, it costs $7. It costs $7, and it can be transferable. You can transfer it from one cow to another. And what do we do? I didn't show you some of the data which you get. Through this sensor, you can get a lot of real data from the cow, and it goes to the cloud. Anytime you want to do, we do what we call big data analytics. So you can be able to view a lot of analytics, and it can give you whether your cow has been eating or it's not eating. And how do you know that it has not been eating? Through the data you get from the sensor, you can know that my cow, the whole day, has been putting its head up. It has not put its head down. So through that you can know, and you can verify from that data you get from from your computer, and you can make a decision. You can contact the nearest veterinary doctors through your app, and you make sure you get inquiry. We have a lot of veterinary doctors.
I have a question. Obviously, you have a lot of amazing technology going on. I wanted to know, how do you get training done for a lot of this advanced information to the farmers? Do you hold seminars? How do you get that information passed out to the almost 1,000 farmers? Because it's quite advanced technology.
Yes, we have experts. We have veterinary experts, and these experts, we pay them to make sure they provide us this content. My background, I'm a software developer, and I'm an entrepreneur. So we have, in background, we have doctors. That's why we have 87 doctors. We pay them. And these doctors, they keep on giving us information that we can put on our platform such that people can use it whenever they want to use. And not only that, on our mobile application, we have people who cannot speak English. What they do is they can speak in their language, and we use a machine learning to make sure it converts what that person is talking into the language that the doctor can understand. So it's more into an advanced technology which we're using, machine learning and artificial intelligence, to make sure we can notify the farmer, even if they don't know English, we want them to understand. On our platform, we have different doctors from US, from South Africa, so these doctors, some of them, they don't know what a farmer in Kayunga speak. So through speaking, our artificial intelligence voice can translate, and then it tells that doctor what is affecting to the cow.
Okay, thank you very much. Just real quick, please take us through the business model, because we didn't hear that, and I think that's very important. How do you make money?
Can I show you that? Our business model is we have what we call subscription. We have an online platform and offline platform, something called integrated information management system that is used for mapping different districts, and that data is coming to the central server, and that central server can be able to use the analytics and big data for decision makers. We have also SMS. Our SMS, it is 6115, which we use for farmers to make sure they can make queries to doctors, and we charge them some money. We have also this device. After buying them, we sell to them. It's not a one-off. Every 3 months, they have to pay us 2,000 shillings to make sure at least every 3 months, if you have 1,000 devices like this and we are paid 2,000 every 3 months, we have some money to make sure it can keep us sustained. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaguza. That's it for today for the pitch competition. We will be able to announce the winners tomorrow. Just to thank our judges, thank you very much. Our judges today were Richard Zulu, Augustine Idot, Sulaiman Moronga, Angela Semogere, and Thea from Diwala. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those of us that have been here, but also welcome those that have joined us from the panel sessions. So I'm going to request the people that think are not very important to please come forward and occupy these seats. You're now the most important people we have here, no protocols. So can I request that we move up front, please? Other than that, we cause a serious disruption. So I'm going to request that we move. Kindly. And as we move, I would like to request those that have presentations to make with specific regard to the use cases. I hope you have all your